Madam
Morning,
Chair,
everyone. We'll just get going in a couple more minutes after hopefully Commissioner Treese has had the opportunity to get connected to the Zoom link. We'll wait one more minute and then we'll get going.
Commissioner Treese should be joining. She's been having problems accessing links, so they've been resent.
I just used the one on our web page.
Is Brad going to be counsel also? Because I'm not seeing his name either yet, Chair.
Okay, well, it's 10:04. We'll convene as the Washington County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, April 20th. Clerk Moss, could you take the roll, please?
thank you, Madam Chair. The Board of County Commissioners, also meeting as the Director of Clean Water Services and all other county service districts, is now meeting in regular session this April 20th, 2021. Commissioner Willie?
Here.
Commissioner Rogers?
Here.
Commissioner Fye?
Here.
Chair Harrington?
Here.
And we will get Commissioner Treese on as soon as we can. So you are set to go.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your patience as we were just concluding a prior meeting. The first item on our agenda is oral communication. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone signed up today?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. We have two people signed up. First is Bill Owens. Bill, can you hear us?
Bill, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead for up to 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I've spoken to Pam Treese and Stephen Roberts about this issue in the past, and we've had some good communication. They created a meeting with the Heritage Village Mobile Home Park on Heritage Parkway near 185th, and we discussed some solutions for the traffic and the noise and the crime on 185th. Those discussions were fruitful. I must say that I was encouraged by the Heritage Village Mobile Home Park's cooperation. They have listened to us throughout the years, and we have had some steps to reduce traffic and noise. But I feel the real solution there is to close off the entrance at 185th and Heritage Parkway for the Heritage Village Mobile Home Park and have them open up their entrance on the south side and the east side going out to 173rd. They may even want to build a new entrance with county funds if that was an improvement with the county. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but closing off the entrance at Heritage Parkway would reduce traffic, noise, and crime in our neighborhood. My neighbor, Leah Schroet, who is going to testify right after me, is beginning to feel threatened at night. There's been drugs, crime, sexual activities, and other crimes committed in our overflow parking lot. And she's beginning to feel threatened, and that's part of the reason we're here today. Our HOA is going to appear at future meetings and talk about this. Stephen Roberts has been receptive, and we have talked about some solutions, but I think that we're poised to create the best solution here, and that's to close off the entrance to Heritage Village Mobile Home Park and reduce the traffic from 185th as a throughway on Heritage Parkway right near our homes. So with that, I will turn it over to my neighbor, Leah Schroet, who has some information to convey to the board. Thank you.
Clerk Moss, who's next?
We have Leah Schroet. Leah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead for up to 2
Great.
minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys today. I'm here because I would love to not be considering whether or not I'm able to stay in this neighborhood. I've been here for about 6 years. This is my first home that I bought. I love it because it's a bunch of families. I love the fact that all sociodemographics are represented. But over the last year, I've just seen a huge influx in issues. There's always been problems, but it's really increased through COVID. In general, that the road that goes right past us is constantly having speeding vehicles. It almost seems like the new sign that was put up there is an excuse for people to put their gas on and go flying up the hill. And they're often driving extremely noisy vehicles that's waking all of us up. The entire neighborhood is getting woken up at night. Additionally, I've been dealing with the parking lot next to me for many years. And like I said, it's really increased the issues. So regular trespassing day and night, garbage being dumped, used condoms being left behind, extensive drug use. I've seen drug deals taking place. Our gate got smashed in the middle of the day. That was in our other area. Vehicles have been stolen. Car tires slashed on our roads. And this was this beautiful, sweet family that just purchased a home, and it was their first home, and this was their first experience. I'm being kept up late at night by loud music, and all of these cars, very few of them have plates on them. So I'm afraid I'm going to get shot in the middle of the night. I'm worried that somebody's kid is going to get shot. Been working closely with Washington County Sheriff. They've been amazing. I really have to call them out. I've called them and thanked them for their help. But I'm just trying to find a way to make this easier for all of us, bring some attention to it. I'd really like to feel safe in my home, and hoping that there's some options for ways that we can improve and make it so that this area is more livable for everybody that lives here. Thank you for the chance to speak.
Thank you, Leah. All right, that is the end of people signed up, Madam Chair.
Okay. I appreciate Mr. Owen and Ms. Schroet for bringing this forward. I would ask Ms. Angie that this area is proximate to 3 different areas of the Board of Commissioners. So I think there is some further background that the board needs to receive on this.
I will follow up and then report back to the board.
Okay, and commissioners, please let Ms. Angie know what additional information you would appreciate receiving as part of that. All right, the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. We've had just a couple of brief updates to the consent agenda that I will summarize. There are 21 items on the consent agenda. The first is minutes for April 6th, 2021. There are 4 items under Clean Water Services, 8 items under Land Use and Transportation. And here is where I just want to provide some modification highlights. For items I, as in India, and J, as in Johnson, there were 2 bid award memos that were added to the packet. So out of those 8 items under Land Use and Transportation, there's 1 item under Health and Human Services, 1 item under Housing Services, 4 items under Support Services, and 2 items under Service District for Lighting. What are the wishes of the Commission relative to the consent agenda? Commissioner Rogers is making a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Commissioner Treese has seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the presentation section of our agenda. We have one presentation today and one proclamation later. I'd like to invite Metro Council President Lynn Peterson to provide us with an update.
And I believe we have Councilor Gonzalez in the waiting room as well. Has he been promoted?
Yes, he has, Madam President.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thank you, Chair Harrington and commissioners. It's really good to see everybody, and I appreciate the time on the agenda. We just wanted to give you a quick update. I'll turn it over to Councilor Gonzalez to kick us off.
Thanks, President Peterson, and good morning, commissioners. It's great to see you and great to be back with you in this forum, in this meeting. First and foremost, great job at the State of the County last night. I really liked the meeting, the format, and I thought y'all did a really stupendous job at informing people of your priorities and the work that you've done. Obviously, today I feel very lucky to have President Peterson joining me, and of course providing an update to you as to the work and also where Metro is on a few things. But we can go to the next slide real quick. Whoever is, thank you so much. I think it's no secret that you know the things that Metro is involved in and Metro does. So I will take this opportunity to just share very briefly how excited I am to have this opportunity to work on affordable housing and supportive housing. A huge shout out to your staff, especially your land use and transportation team and your housing services team. They are working so hard, and in every forum, whether it's WCCC or JPAC or MPAC or wherever they are needed, I really feel that they are rising to the challenge and working to implement the vision of all of our shared policy outcomes that we have in these investments. I'm going to give the mic back to President Peterson, but before I do that, I do want to welcome Commissioner Fye to the commission. I think this is the first time I present since you have been sworn in. So it's a pleasure to, again, just have this time to share a little bit, and hopefully we get through the presentation quickly so we can do a quick Q&A after if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Councilor. And whoa, we're already, okay. Why don't we quick remind everybody, for the last 40 years, for 4 decades, Metro has basically had 4 lines of business. Our new line of business, of course, is working with you all on affordable housing and supportive housing service measure, which we'll get to. But just a quick reminder, this is what we're going to run through is our visitor venues. Metro has responsibility for many of the major visitor venues in the region. We'll go through how they've served us during the last year. We'll just do a quick update on garbage and recycling, which is another big line of business for us. Our long-range planning that we do a lot of work with you on, as well as parks and nature that we do a lot of partnership with you on. So next slide. The Oregon Zoo has served us well during this pandemic over the last year. I think a lot of families were very happy that not only the regional park system, but also the Oregon Zoo was able to open up very early on at a limited capacity. But I think a lot of families were just happy to get out and have some options. And everybody knows about the 6-acre elephant lands habitat that we're all so proud of. I feel like I'm giving a report to Chair Harrington on all the decisions she made prior to leaving the Metro Council, because really everything that you stand on the shoulders of others. And so this is really just an update, all the work that had come before me getting on there really until later. But we've welcomed home Nora back to the Polar Passage. The brand new Polar Passage exhibit just opened up this last week. And I haven't been out to see Nora yet, but I think you'll all remember she was a cub here, just a cute as can be cub. and she's back, and we're hoping to find her some friends because she's very social and needs some friends. And then you also know that the Oregon Zoo is a leader in condor conservation at an undisclosed location in Clackamas County, but also have the condors at the zoo. And we've really brought them back from the edge of extinction, which is great. And I'll just mention, thank God for the zoo lights as well this year. So many people got to go through the zoo that weren't even able to do it in the past because it was too cold or they had mobility issues. And being able to drive through the zoo with your hot chocolate in hand was just the most pleasant of things. So I just want to call out kudos to the Oregon Zoo staff, many of whom were laid off, some of which we've been able to bring back, but at least the animals have been taken care of and in good stead throughout this entirety of the pandemic. Next slide. Many of you know that we manage on behalf of the city of Portland, the 5 centers for the performing arts, including the Schnitzer and the Keller that everybody know about. All 5 of them have been closed down, and including the convention center staff, the expo staff, and most of the zoo staff. In March of last year, we had to lay off 750 people, and we hope to see most of those people come back when we are ready to actually hold conferences and conventions and larger events. But next slide. The good news is that while the expo and the convention center were closed to conferences and convention centers, they were literally probably not closed one day out of the last year. They have done multitudes of heavy lifting. We have not only hosted the Clackamas County residents that were impacted by the fires. Your folks were also impacted by fires, but they didn't necessarily need to evacuate at the same scale with the same severity as Clackamas County. So Expo Center hosted Red Cross, which really allowed a lot of people with big rigs and travel trailers to get out and find a place to either store or live temporarily. The Oregon Convention Center was an emergency shelter for the families of Clackamas County. But then we also had several homeless shelters, either in emergency severe weather situations or just to allow Multnomah County shelters to spread out in more space. What I can tell you is thank God that we had just done the renovation and the new air filtration systems were in place, because to house homeless shelters and fire evacuees for those 2 different reasons was very difficult for our folks to manage the airflow and get it just right to keep everybody safe from smoke and from COVID-19 at the same time. You know that we've been managing both Expo and OCC as COVID testing sites over the last year, but now the OCC is a mass vaccination site. Kudos to all of you for all of your vaccination work, but I'm going to do a little bit of bragging. We are now moving the most number of people through in a day of any mass vaccination center for something our size per capita. So we're at 8,000 with the 4 hospital systems. I know, it's just amazing, isn't it? So kudos to also our citizens for stepping up and making sure that this is a priority for them in their own lives. So I thank them for that as well. Next slide. Garbage and recycling, just want to remind everybody that we do manage the waste stream for the region, while the county probably has contracts to help pick up at the curb. We then manage it from there, from the public and the private transfer stations into recycling or to the Arlington landfill. And just a quick public service announcement for everybody that may be listening. And if any of the commissioners want to help us on this, we want to just call your attention to the wishful recycling that is still going on. And that is a huge cost to the system. As you can see, these workers here in this picture are literally picking out wishful recycling. We would wish that everything that had the chasing arrows that said it looked like it could be recycled, but it's only if there's a demand. And so we just want to make sure that we're working on that. We're working in the legislature to clarify that, of who can put the recycling symbols on their products. But in the meantime, you can check the Metro website and make sure that you know exactly what can be recycled and what cannot. We also are working on a public-private partnership on innovation grants, where we have helped recyclers with new technology to make it more cost efficient so that we can recycle more. And that program is going full tilt and has been a priority for this council as we move forward. Next slide. We also work with you on the long-range planning for the region, whether it's a movement of the urban growth boundary every 5 years or mid-cycle. 2 cities in Washington County have asked for a mid-cycle review. Or transportation planning or the transportation package. We've worked on all of that with you. We still continue to know that there is a transportation need as we come out of COVID, and we'll be continuing conversations on when to go back to the voters with the right package, with the right coalition, with everybody behind it. And we look forward to those discussions in the future with you. Next slide. On economic development, we just want to say thank you for being part of C2P2 or Construction Careers Pathway Program. It's a joint region-wide conversation that we've just helped facilitate, where all of you have said, hey, we're going to have a lot of capital projects coming online over the next 10 years, and we want to make sure that we're using that to actually create a workforce initiative so that everybody in the region is looking to the same high goals so that we can get women and BIPOC community members apprenticeship hours and into the workforce for their journeyman positions or journey person positions, and making sure that they are assured that they have a safe site to work on that treats them with respect. So just a thank you for continuing to work with us on that, with the outcomes. It'll help us recover from this economy. A lot of lost service jobs mean that there's a lot of opportunity for folks to move into construction. And having been in the construction field, I would just say, I thank Metro for starting this prior to me getting on. It's important that we all feel safe on our job and welcomed and part of the team. Next slide. And then, because you're implementing this day and night, and as Councilor Gonzalez mentioned, thank you to the voters. Thank you to Washington County and at the Housing Authority. We asked the voters, they said yes in November of 2018 to a $652.8 million bond measure. We, the region, the 7 housing authorities, including you, have now committed 34% of those resources, but yet we have met 54% of those goals. So they are either in construction now or about to begin construction. And it's just very exciting. We hope if we stay on track with this level of commitment, we should be able to far exceed that 3,900 units of affordable and deeply affordable housing units in the region, serving both families as well as individuals. So it's great. We hope that instead of the 12,000 people that we originally estimated to be served, it should be more around 20,000. So thank you for moving so fast. And if we continue along this pace, we'll be able to take advantage of both low interest rates and the Biden administration tax credits before things start to get more expensive coming out of COVID. Next slide. And again, thank you to the voters. Thank you to Washington County. Thank you to commissioners for being part of this bond or levy to actually functionally end chronic homelessness in the greater Portland region by 2030. So it's a 10-year levy that you are currently finalizing the local implementation plan. All 3 counties are in the final stages of their local implementation plans, as you know. You're on track for both that as well as an intergovernmental agreement of how the funds will be dispersed and used. And the money will start to flow in July. We're very excited. Our role as Metro Council is to make sure that the money is being spent the way it said it was going to be spent. So just making sure that you have everything you need to be able to meet the outcomes, but also to help you in any way, shape, or form with data collection and analysis so that you can do the best job with the best data. And we can also show the voters who voted for this that they're getting their money's worth. And it's just an amazing program that shows this region has a heart and soul and wants to do the best they can towards those who have the least. Next slide. Lastly, our 5th line of business is Parks and Nature. We are part and parcel of all of this with you as we grow, protecting more than 17,000 acres of open space in the past. And now on our 3rd ballot measure that passed last year, November 2019, it's a year and a half ago, we are working to set its opening date for the Chehalem Ridge Natural Area. Yeah, which will be exciting. The first phase, and I know that a lot of the commissioners on here, as well as Councilor Gonzalez, have a deep history working to get that to be a regional park. The local distribution of those funds comes in this fiscal year, and we look forward to how you'll be using that. And that about wraps up what we've done for this last year. So while we were definitely all dealing with a pandemic, there was a lot of other stuff going on, and we just wanted to touch base with you and see if you had any questions, and just make sure we're mirroring your values and your desires at your regional government.
Commissioners, are there any comments or questions you would like to share at this point? I don't see anyone. Go ahead, Commissioner Willie.
Well, yes, thanks very much, Lynn, and certainly Carlos for being here and sharing this with us today. And in regards to the local funds for Metro Parks, I certainly have a great place that I'd recommend that you consider investing there. You know where I'm going with this. So I'm sure we'll be in more conversation about that as we move on. So looking forward to working with you on that project.
Is it a phase 2 of the Jerry Willie Plaza?
No, this is park stuff, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
This part of the plaza.
We already have a trail through there anyway, Lynn. It's called Light Rail. That's
all right.
No, I'm talking about Salmonberry, of course, and so
yes,
certainly moving ahead on that. And I think I'm going to have the opportunity to go for a short hike there in probably the next month, and see what progress we're making, at least on our end of things. So we're moving ahead on that. So we will certainly be in conversation.
Awesome. I was just out there on the Banks Vernonia Trail a couple of weeks ago. Just, it doesn't matter what time of year you're out there. It's just amazing.
Commissioner Willie, I'd love to join you on that. That sounds wonderful.
Well, you know, we've been talking about doing exactly that, Chair. So certainly I'll get you up to speed on that, and yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, I was
going to say, include me in that.
Wait a minute. We're still in COVID.
I know. We're all ready to bust out.
That's right.
I know. Well, I just want to say thank you. You have a question. I'm sorry. I was just going to tell you what a wonderful counselor you have representing a portion of Washington County. Councilor Gonzalez has been amazing, hardworking, represents you well, and I just appreciate all of the work that he has done and the perspective that he brings to the council.
So I have a couple of things. I really appreciate you, Commission President Peterson, as well as Councilor Gonzalez, for joining us today. We know that there are 2 other members of the Metro Council whose districts include portions of Washington County, specifically Councilor Rosenthal and Councilor Nolan. But we have the most frequent communication from the 2 of you, and I know I really appreciate that. There are a couple of areas where I have some questions. One particular one is an area where I think we need a little help from Metro. There is a company, I'm sure you're familiar with this at this point, with Ridwell, an entrepreneurial firm who is working to pick up hard to recycle items. And, that gets into some of the licensing aspects for solid waste. And I don't know if they are present in areas outside of Washington County, but I know that I have seen their collection boxes on people's doorsteps in unincorporated Washington County, as well as in Beaverton. And So I assume they're elsewhere in the region, and I just want to put a plug in. We really value the work that Metro does to help us have a regional system that will capture all kinds of materials that are recyclable or we wish were recyclable and
Right.
get those handled. Is there anything either one of you would like to comment on with regard to Ridwell and things that you know are going on?
Councilor Gonzalez, do you know what? I've never heard of them. I'm sorry. They're not in my city. So go ahead.
I actually haven't heard of them either. So this is a really good opportunity. I mean, something that the council has prioritized with solid waste reserves and strategic investments is our I&I grants, which we're making to entrepreneurs and innovators around this space. So I just wrote down their name, and I'll look into them a little bit more. And it's a part of that commitment to strengthen our local capacity in our local domestic market and our ability to send things to markets that have good certifications and things like that. I mean, I think another really important part of that too is this, this visioning conversation for a West Side transfer station and bringing more services to people on the West Side. And we're currently in community engagement and community feedback collection mode and really building out that vision to see the feasibility of that. But I do think that we have these really great bright spots of innovation with entrepreneurs and like Ridwell, but there's still a little bit more we need to do to build that critical mass. Like you're saying, it can't just be kind of the spots. And I share that commitment, just like I know that that you do. And I just appreciate the example there. So I'll look into that one a little bit more.
Well, thank you for the brief update on the West Side facility. That was going to be my second question to get an update for our community on that, because I know you've been doing great due diligence involving the local community, and I know I can rely upon your website for having material on that. You work really hard at having information on your website, and I know I've always valued that, and it's one of the first places that I go to look for information. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the Chehalem Ridge Nature Park open up during this period of COVID. See, Commissioner Treese has a Ridwell box, or she swiped it off the porch of her neighbors. I don't know which. It's hers. Way to go. So I'm looking forward to Chehalem Ridge Nature Park opening later this year. That's pretty darned exciting. We know that Cooper Mountain Nature Park, which you own and operate jointly with THPRD, is heavily used. So I'm grateful for that overflow parking lot that the first iteration of your parks levy was able to fund. Just an update for you related to your Parks and Nature bond and local share. We as a commission, as you probably know from your own work, COVID really threw us a curveball last year, and we've been catching up, but we as a board have not had the opportunity to look at the underlying principles of that measure and making sure that there's more, for example, renaturing going on in our urban areas, such as in our urban unincorporated areas that we are responsible for as Washington County, but also to work in partnership with our cities as well. So we'll have to take a look at that. We may not be able to meet your absolute deadlines before the end of the year, but it is something that we are striving for to get to make sure that we're following through, because you have been brave to put those measures before the ballot, and we are grateful for that funding. For parks and nature, for affordable housing, and for supportive housing services. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being so brave. And I was neglectful to mention transportation as well. So you work hard each and every day to help ensure that our urban metropolitan area is a thriving place for everyone who lives here, but also for nature. And I really appreciate it. So those are my comments. Looks like Commissioner Treese wants to step in now.
I would just want to give a shout out to Juan Carlos. I've had the opportunity on a number of different fronts to work with Juan Carlos, and I am so impressed with your steep learning curve around all of the issues, but particularly transportation, and how you can, you've got the lingo down, you've got the concepts down, you're a pro. So I appreciate the partnership that we've been able to build in a number of different areas, and thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Treese. I have the lingo down, but we don't have our transportation measure funding down just yet. So let's just work to complete that and then get those projects built, and I'll be happy. So, but thank you so much.
That's next. That's next.
If I can just remind everybody of the regional investment strategies plan that we were talking about. A lot of what we're talking about is the implementation of that now. And I think the groundbreaking work that's been going on all of these is that we recognize that the housing crisis, the affordable housing crisis, is kind of all-encompassing to all of us. And so not only do we have an affordable housing bond measure, but both the parks bond measure and the transportation measure that didn't pass this time, but we'll look at how to fund it, because really that was the big issue that the business community had during COVID. Both of them included links to affordable housing. And so let me just call out for you, right, in the parks bond measure, there is a bucket of money, $60 million that are set aside. Some of that is going to Willamette Falls, which is what we're calling complex urban development. And so for me, it was important to say we can partner with affordable housing projects that are high density, affordable, mixed use developments that might be a heavy lift because people feel like there's a loss of open space, or they feel like there's a need for habitat restoration. So when we are looking around the region, please keep in mind that that bucket of money is there. Right now, the big project that's looming is the Albina Vision in Albina at the Rose Quarter interchange. But that's not the only one. And I just want to make sure that as you guys are out in Washington County and working with the jurisdictions, whether they have housing authorities or not, if it's a grand vision to achieve a lot of different things, including affordable housing, and there's some habitat or parks that are needed, please let us know, because we'd love to be able to partner with you on that and get some of these big visions across the finish line.
And I think that's where our work as the board of directors for Clean Water Services comes in as well. And thank you for encouraging us to really ensure that we're looking at the opportunity lens in that realm. It's refreshing to be able to think about things other than COVID response and recovery and vaccinations. But yes, we do welcome that. Thank you for reminding us. That's great.
Of course. And as we look to the future, if we can help coordinate the regional phasing of opening, and really think about how do we make sure that the events throughout the region coming out of COVID are safe with you, and that we're all allowing for each part of the region to show their celebratory mood. We'd love to be able to partner with you on that and be able to highlight, coordinate in terms of just making sure that the region is opening up in stages and not all at once, because we don't want everybody out all at once. But there's an import there to having a light at the end of the tunnel to look forward to, but doing it in a phased opening. It's good to see you all. Much appreciated. Thank you for taking your time.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've had my little hand up. There we go.
Oh,
Good to see you both. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that Garrett's on the attendee list as
Oh,
well.
no.
You have
oh
another,
no.
Yep, you have another counselor who's at least attending. I see his name. My
Get him in
question,
here.
yeah. My question to you, Len, is we've known each other a long time, and back to your days as a city councilor in Lake Oswego, and I'm a little embarrassed of not knowing the answer to my question, but
Okay.
when I started dealing with Metro, it wasn't Metro, it was Craig way back in the day, and
That's right.
certainly evolved a whole lot since those days.
Right.
But I've never understood whether you had an economic development component of what you do. And let me tell you why I ask all of this is that as we both have been around a long time, I've seen cycles. And I'm not as optimistic, and I've told our council and other folks on beaches around my district that I sense that there's a different cycle that's going to start to happen. I'm hoping not, but I feel it in my bones. And that's an economic cycle. And it's not due to the COVID pandemic. Everybody thinks mysteriously that that's going to create lots of jobs. And it may in the service industries, but we all know that's not the highest paid jobs. I'm also hearing lots of comments from businesses that they're looking at other states and other areas to relocate. I'm a little alarmed about that. I'm not panicking. I'm just a little alarmed. So is there something that Metro's doing in your capacity with the counties to take a look at whenever we're talking about money measures, whenever we're talking about programs, the economics and what it's going to do so that we just don't have an environment where our costs for businesses to migrate to that wonderful new Columbia County site that Betsy's doing up there, or across to Vancouver or over to Yamhill County. What are we doing to assure that we're aligning so that we're keeping some of those golden payers in the area? And so it's more of a question of if you don't have one.
Oh, I do.
Good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Commissioner Rogers, thank you. I think there have been different roles that Metro has played in economic development. And right now, the major role that I think that we are playing is that there are certain things that we could step in, and when we were asked, we did, right? Like supportive housing services, the business community really was pushing for, and I'm saying that in a broad sense, there was a push by different parts of the business community to have the supportive housing services measure because the homelessness situation was so out of hand and still is, right? So I think in order to be able to attract talent, in order to be an attractive place to locate or grow, you need to have a livable community with good education, good road system, and that you're taking care of your people. Now, that's just a baseline, and we all know that. When we look at Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Austin, Texas, these are the places that we compete against. But Minneapolis, St. Paul has 18 Fortune 500 companies, and they're all competing for talent. And so they're very, very, very interested in policy creation, in ballot measures, in programs, and making sure that that it is a livable place to live and an affordable place to live. So I think in that sense, we have been very proactive in working with the region. When we are asked to consider something, we take it seriously because we're hearing from them. So that's just in a big general sense, and that was the regional investment strategies portfolio that we've been working on. The second thing is in the short term, we have decided we're not working on the 50-year renewal of 2040 growth concept for 2070. You don't hear us talking about that. We're talking about the 5-year economic recovery plan that we have with GPI, Greater Portland Inc. And that is the priority for us right now, is finding the funding and the programs and the policies embedded in that 5-year recovery plan to make sure that our small businesses, all the way to our large businesses, are getting what they need to come out of this recession. So that's where we're focused right now, along with things like workforce initiatives. moving away from incarcerated labor to actually giving folks in the regional illegal dumping program an actual job, right? That is resume building, that pays a living wage. So those are the types of things that we're focused on for economic recovery.
I just follow up quickly by saying it's all good work. I've oftentimes, as you know, supported Metro on many, many issues. And
yes,
I think that there's a role other than being reactive. I think there may be a role to be proactive. And I don't know where that line is and how many people would support that, but it seems like a logical place for you to be is in a proactive mode. And, so I just throw that nugget out for whatever it's worth.
No, I appreciate that. And I think that is the tension, as you know, of a regional body, and the only elected regional body in the country is how much does it bubble up from the cities and counties as a need, and how much is it proactive? And there's probably somewhere in the middle in order to actually be successful. Councilor Gonzalez, any last?
Those are wise words from President Peterson. You know, we have our partnership with GPI, and we've been working on economic recovery framework, and we have a 5-year, you know, economic growth strategy in the post-COVID for post-COVID. But I think it's a joint relationship, and I know Washington County is also you know, taking steps to grow and build an economic development program, and I think that's really exciting and all wonderful. And I do think that there's space for a regional forum for, you know, all these economic development agencies to talk with one another if we're not already, and trying to align our policies, whether that's taxation or you know, programs and incentives, and really focus on where do we want to be in 2030, 2040, 2050. I think those things are super important right now.
Well, and I think there's, if I might, I think there's opportunity there for us as a board to look at that 5-year economic recovery plan and ensure that as we work to program the American Rescue Plan dollars, the $116 million, that we are doing so in a way that adds value with our other jurisdictional partners throughout the region.
That's a very good point, Chair. I would also just like to put in a plug for Greater Portland Inc. They do have a brand new director, Monique Claiborne. She comes from Detroit originally, and in the economic development sphere, and you know, has seen the hard times that Detroit went through and what it took for them to really come out of all that and really come back with a new vim and vigor. And I'm very buoyed by the way she's looking at things, and GPI is broadening their mission so that it's not just about attraction to this region, but actually retention and growth of existing business. There's going to be a lot more focus on that because of the GPI board as well as Monique's vision. So I just want to put a plug out for her that getting connected up with what they're about to do, as well as show what they need in order to actually help businesses not just survive but thrive in this region. So.
Well, thank you both for joining us today in our business meeting. We have had the pleasure of Councilor Gonzalez and I believe Councilor Rosenthal as well joining us in work session for prior updates, but it's a pleasure to get to share you fully with the public via a presentation in our business meeting. So thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
All right. Thank you very much for that presentation. We'll next move on to proclamations. April 22nd, Thursday, is Earth Day. So we have a proclamation and I believe a short presentation from our staff. Robin, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, Chair Harrington. Thank you. And commissioners. Oops. Okay. All right. So the presentation is going to be just after I do a little introduction, but For the record, my name is Robin Strawn, and I am the county's sustainability manager. And I really want to thank you for allowing us time on your agenda to help recognize the importance of Earth Day. Washington County supported environmental protection and sustainability efforts long before my program was established. The county values leadership in sustainability as a reflection of effective public administration, the health of our community, and concern for future generations. I would like to acknowledge the hard work that county employees do daily to ensure that we are minimizing environmental impacts, planning for the best possible outcomes, and building a responsible organization. County departments help protect and preserve resources and support sustainable and equitable communities. The work we do is important and vital to the long-term resilience of our organization, whether it's increasing the efficiency of county buildings or fleet vehicles, providing access to safe pedestrian walkways, improving air quality, or empowering sustainable habits. My division recently completed and published our Sustainability Annual Report and is included with today's agenda. The report outlines county sustainability work, noting achievements since the 2008 baseline year, and highlighting our successes in resource conservation. We share information about our environmental, economic, social, and community sustainability best practices. The county has made tremendous strides in reducing our own footprint and met many of our goals and objectives. The county is also committed to doing more in the coming years. Therefore, I'm pleased that we can take the time today to formally recognize the county's commitment. The county has worked with the Energy Trust of Oregon for many years to ensure that we are tackling the most important and strategic energy efficiency and renewable energy projects on our facilities. We thank them for being here today to share more about the important work they do. Are there any questions before I turn it over to Scott Legge with the Energy Trust of Oregon?
I know I don't have any questions, but I do have some comments later, so I'll share those a little bit later.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Legge, and I am an energy coach with the Energy Trust of Oregon. Energy Trust of Oregon is an independent, nonprofit organization dedicated to energy efficiency and clean, renewable power. We do have some slides prepared, but I am not seeing them unless it's just me. Does everyone see the slides?
We just need to put them up on the screen. Thank you.
Next slide, please. There we go. I'd like to thank the chair and all of the commissioners here today for allowing me to say a few words about Energy Trust and the Strategic Management Program. Energy Trust is committed to helping 1.7 million utility customers in Oregon and Southwest Washington save energy and generate renewable power. We provide comprehensive energy efficiency and renewable energy programs, and our success is measured in kilowatt hours of electricity saved or produced with renewable energy. Also, therms of natural gas saved and efficient and effective delivery of services to utility customers. Since 2002, we have helped people and businesses transform more than 744,000 homes and buildings with clean energy improvements. We saved and generated 914 megawatts of electricity and 71 million therms of natural gas. That's enough energy to power half the homes in Oregon and heat nearly all of the homes in Lane County. We've saved enough energy equal to the output of a power plant and reduced our reliance on fossil fuels. We've invested $2 billion to save customers more than $8.2 billion on their energy bills over time. And we've added $8.3 billion to the local economy, including $2.6 billion in wages, $442 million in small business income, and employment equal to 6,700 full-time jobs that would last a decade. We've additionally cut carbon emissions by 32.7 million tons, which is equal to removing 7 million cars from the road for a year. Energy efficiency remains the least expensive energy resource Oregonians can buy. And this affordable energy supply helps utilities avoid investment in new and more expensive energy resources. Next slide, please. Now, Washington County has been involved with Energy Trust since its inception. They've implemented a variety of measures to reduce energy, including the following: lighting upgrades, conversions to LED technology throughout the county buildings, as well as new lighting controls, have saved literally millions of kilowatts. Capital improvements, such as the Public Services Building remodel that has touched almost every facet of that building. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrades, such as in the Juvenile Services Building. Occupant engagement activities such as newsletters, energy minutes, lunch and learn webinars, and the like. They've also enrolled in the Strategic Energy Management Program since the very beginning, which is a program that focuses on low-cost and no-cost solutions to energy efficiency. Since Washington County has been enrolled in this program, they have saved over 9 million kilowatts and over 550,000 therms in 10 years. Now, you can do a quick math and figure out what the actual avoided cost for that energy would be. At this point, I'd like to ask if there are any questions or comments before I turn it over to Eric to read the proclamation.
I have one quick one. This is Roy Rogers. Are you changing your metrics as time goes on? I mean, I can remember when we started this program, and I think, Robin, you might have been one of the first people at the county that was involved, but we were doing great at doing different things to promote our efforts for energy savings, and we did gas savings, and we did we did all kinds of things. But you start having diminishing returns as you start to implement different processes. So maybe really the question's for Robin. Is there anything that we're doing differently? Are we using different metrics to achieve different goals as we go on?
At this point, no. There's still a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can reap the benefits of addressing through efficiency. But I think some of the new things that we're considering are with our new construction, because we're sort of newer to having a lot of new construction, considering more green building options when our new facilities are being built.
I'd like to address your concerns about diminishing returns. That makes a lot of sense. If you focus all of your attention on one building, and over the years, you may find that you've maybe tuned this building to the point where it's a carbon neutral facility, which is our goal. But what I find is there are a number of facilities, individual buildings and structures within the county that have not had the same level of attention. So as we dial in one building, say the Public Services Building, as I mentioned before, had a significant upgrade. So it has new lighting, new HVAC systems, new controls. I feel that building is very energy efficient. To counter that, there are other buildings that haven't had that same level of attention, buildings that are due for a refresh. And until those capital projects happen, we're going to focus in the SEM program on low cost and no cost solutions to continue to make those aging buildings more and more efficient. And then we will continue to move on until I imagine that your goal is something like having a carbon neutral footprint on all the facilities in Washington County. And so I see that as a rather long-term goal.
Mr. Liege, could you just remind us what SEM stands for?
Strategic Energy Management.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other questions? So we'll turn it over to you to read our proclamation.
All right. Thank you, Chair Harrington, and thank you, board, for having us here today. My name is Eric Laprete. I'm the Sustainability Education Coordinator here at the county, and I will be reading the proclamation in honor of Earth Day. So without further ado, Board of Commissioners for Washington County, a proclamation in honor of Earth Day, April 20th, 2021. Whereas the first Earth Day on April 22nd, 1970 is credited with launching the modern environmental movement. And whereas Washington County recommits to its mission of creating equitable, healthy, peaceful, safe, and sustainable communities. And whereas all people, regardless of race, gender, income, sexual orientation, gender identity, ability, or national origin, have a right to a healthy, sustainable environment. And whereas environmental protection and natural resources are of special importance to Washington County residents, agriculture, and industry, driving community well-being and economic prosperity. And whereas Washington County continues to show dedicated sustainability leadership by addressing energy production and use, greenhouse gas emissions, transportation impacts, water conservation, and waste reduction. And whereas in an effort to address climate change, Washington County is fostering strategic energy management through increased investments in renewable energy, energy conservation, and electric fleet vehicles, thereby reducing harmful emissions and promoting a low carbon economy. And whereas Washington County recognizes the need to expand sustainability education and climate literacy to enhance awareness about the environment, inform decision-making, and protect future generations. And now, therefore it be resolved that on this 20th day of April 2021, the Washington County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2021 as Earth Day, and calls on the people of Washington County to observe this month with appropriate programs and activities, and use this as an opportunity to re-energize their innovative spirit and explore new paths to sustainability. Thank you.
Darn, thought I hit mute. Commissioners, are there any comments you'd like to make at this time? Is there a motion to adopt this proclamation? So moved from Commissioner Rogers, seconded from Commissioner Treese. So before we take a vote, is there anyone who wishes to comment? Otherwise, I'll comment before we take a vote.
I just want to say thank you for your work on this, and it's important work, and I appreciate everything that's moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Treese. I would really like to highlight the work of the Sustainability Division. Thank you for putting together this annual report of all of your efforts and gains. So thank you, Robin, to you and to your team. I particularly want to just highlight a few items. The report talks about how you moved from modest goals to seizing opportunities, and the annual report really speaks to that and how you've stepped up. And you've just done a fantastic job for the agency, helping reduce the environmental impacts as well as results for the bottom line via lower costs of operation as well as maintenance. I also want to thank you for ensuring that you're covering social sustainability as well. And I think that's a concept for us to, as a set of policymakers and investment decision makers, get our heads around as well. So I know that you're working as part of the climate task force that we're putting together internally between the Agency of Washington County and Clean Water Services. So I know I look forward to learning more from you and seeing how we can do a better job in our policies and investments moving forward. Just a couple of other things. I think we continue to have a bit of an untold story from our Land Use and Transportation Department, particularly on the transportation side. I've encouraged them to be sure to share with us a little bit more about how they're implementing fish-friendly stream crossings as they replace culverts all throughout the county. It's become just part of what they do, but that is an investment for the future. Not only for the fish, but also for our water quality. And since these are taxpayer dollars, public dollars being used to invest, it's really, these practices are not only getting the transportation job done, but also better practices for our planet. And then I also want to say I appreciate the clear articulation on page 12 of the 4 strategic areas: planning and policy development, technical assistance to departments and community partners, the education and awareness to employees as well as our constituents, and the progress measurement and tracking. You've been organizing all of our efforts through these multiple strategic areas, and I really appreciate how the annual report highlights and reports back, not only on progress, but true results, not only for our community, but also for our planet. So thank you so much. Before we take a vote, are there any last commissioner comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to adopt today's proclamation for Earth Day. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye or raise your hand. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you again to Robin, Eric, and Scott for being with us today. And please keep up the good work. And thank you for staying healthy too. Next, we'll move on to boards and commissions. We have 4 different committees that we are working on today. The first is to appoint members of the Housing Advisory Committee, also known as HAC. So we have a proposal to make 3 new appointments to the Housing Advisory Committee. Narendra Sehgal as a member at large for a position expiring March 31 of 2025. Alma Flores is the real estate development construction position that expires March 31 of 2023. And Alma Tapia Hernandez as the member for assisted by the Housing Authority, which expires March 31 of 2024. We also, with this, have the proposal for reappointing to the Housing Authority Committee for terms expiring March 31, 2025, 4 different members. Renee Brous to the member at large position, Cindy Otis to the elderly representative position, Melinda Bell to the Housing Authority representative position, and Sheila Greenlaw Fink to the finance position. What are the wishes of the commission with regard to this action to appoint members to the Housing Advisory Committee?
So move for recommended action.
We have a motion. Is that a second, Commissioner Treese? Yes. We have a motion from Commissioner Willie, a second from Commissioner Treese. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and the Metzger Park Advisory District. I don't happen to have that in, yes, I do. There it is. So for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, we have a proposal in front of us to appoint Brad Biddle and Megan McMillan to a term ending June 30th, 2024. Kevin Zurcher, Mahesh Udata, and Melissa Helmick to a term ending June 30th, 2023. Kim Jansen, Tyler McKean, and Jeffrey Moxie to a term ending June 30th, 2022. As well as a proposal to appoint to the Metzger Park Local Improvement District Advisory Board 2 members, Holly Wick and Darlene Dick, to a term ending June 30th, 2023. What are the wishes of the commission on these appointments? Commissioner Rogers makes a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Fye. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we have an item to adopt new bylaws for the Washington County Audit Committee. I don't think we have covered this over prior work sessions. Do we have a motion to adopt these new bylaws? A motion from Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Treese, is that a second? Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye or raise your hand. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And lastly, for boards and commissions, we have a motion to approve a new set of bylaws for the Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee. We've also gone over these as part of the commission's work session and the proposals in our packet. Do we have a motion to adopt these new bylaws?
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Treese, a second from Commissioner Willie. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you very much. We have one action before us today. It is an action item to authorize the chair to sign an employment agreement for the new county council candidate. We interviewed our finalists on Monday, March 29th, if I remember. And out of that came out with a candidate we wish to make an offer to. As we know, the board agreed to model this new contract using the same contract structure and provisions as our recently hired county administrative officer. So all of those provisions are exactly the same with the exception of changes for salary as well as for appropriate outside boards and education requirements, including the Oregon Bar. Are there any comments or questions, or do we have a motion?
Chair, I think I sent an email yesterday, just one question for clarification on the vacation. So I didn't get a response. So is it okay if I ask that question now?
Sure. I believe that the parameters for that are exactly the same as we used in the county administrative officer contract.
Okay.
So
right.
I would have to refer you to our Chief Human Resource Officer, Eva Labonte, for further details.
I can follow up on that. I figured it was standard procedure, so I can follow up and just get clarification on that.
Okay.
So I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Willie and a second from Commissioner Treese. Are there any other questions or comments before vote? Okay. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is oral communication. Mr. Moss, do we have anyone signed up for this second oral communication section?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay. Well, seeing none, we'll move on to board announcements. Usually par for the course is just announcing upcoming meetings. As you know, we have a board roundtable this Thursday, April 22nd. I can't get over the fact that we're already looking at the end of April. Next Tuesday is our monthly evening board meeting at 6:30 p.m. and we have our work session in the afternoon to build around that. Then we're into the month of May already. Wow. So by then, ballots will be dropping into mailboxes starting Wednesday, April 28th. Then in the month of May, we've got our board meetings on Tuesday, May 4th, work session starting in the morning, 8:30, our business meeting at 10 a.m. We will not be having a May roundtable. As we know, we'll be very busy with 2 different agency budgets, Washington County as well as Clean Water Services. And we have supplementary meetings with the budget committee for that. So the following week, May 11th, we have a work session that starts in the morning. And then Tuesday, May 18th, which happens to be election day, we have a work session in the morning and a business meeting. And then on May 25th, we'll have our evening meeting. Are there any other board announcements for today? Or any leadership announcements?
Yes, Chair Harrington, Board of Commissioners, I had forgot to raise one item during leadership updates earlier today. Yesterday afternoon, was that only Monday? It feels like a much longer week, so I had to check myself on what day of the week it was. I had sent you an email requesting letter of support for the chair to sign our ongoing tobacco prevention work. As part of that process, to continue to receive the Tier 3 level of funding, enabling tobacco prevention work to continue to expand in the county, this is an annual letter that we do need to ask that the chair sign in support.
This is very much in alignment with the letter from last year, as well as the work that our public health division has been doing with the Oregon Health Authority and also legislation that's been under discussion at the statewide level. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If not, is everyone thumbs up with the letter?
Strongly support.
Yeah, okay, it looks like we've got 5 thumbs. And I know we have another letter, but I thought that our staff is going to bring that up in our work session this afternoon.
That's accurate.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for making sure we moved forward with that letter to OHA on the tobacco prevention work. So, anything else, commissioners? Okay, so before I entertain a motion to adjourn our business meeting, I just want to remind us all that we will be reconvening in our executive session that we were not able to complete earlier this morning. So we'll all need to go back to our calendars or other reference material for that Microsoft Teams link. Okay?
Are we doing that immediately? Chair, we're going right back into executive session now, and yeah, okay.
That's what I had understood, and then we would break for lunch and then pick back up with our work session at 1 o'clock.
It's okay with me.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn today's business meeting? So moved from Commissioner Treese. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Willie. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye or raise your hand. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you. Our business meeting of the Washington County Board of Commissioners for April 20th, 2021 is hereby adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Moss. Thank you, everyone.
I guess we're losing everybody.
Yes, we're going back to that same Teams link.
Yes, as announced.